Greetings from PMG Engineering. Today's discussion about hazards in construction. We have three agendas to fulfill in this lecture. First is construction hazards. Here I will point out six major hazards involved in the business. Second, I will briefly explain the most common causes of accidents, and at last, but not the least, I will discuss about the risk of fire and explosion at a construction site. So to begin with, let us first discuss about construction hazards. So the first hazard is working at height. Working at height remains one of the biggest causes of fatalities and major injuries. And common cases include fall from roofs, ladders, and through fragile surfaces. Work at height means work in any place where if there are no precautions in place, a person could fall a distance liable to cause personal injury. So how can it be controlled? First, we should avoid work at height where it's reasonably practicable to do so. So where work at height cannot be easily avoided, prevent falls using either an existing place of work that is already safe or the right type of equipment. And also minimize the distance and consequences of a fall by using the right type of equipment where the risk cannot be eliminated. Now do's and don'ts. So as much work as possible from the ground, as I've already mentioned before, and work of scaffolding in presence to working of ladders. So scaffolding is always a safer option than ladders. Then ensure that the equipment is suitable, stable and strong enough for the job, and it is maintained and checked regularly. Then take precautions when working on the near fragile surfaces and provide protection from falling objects, and also consider emergency evacuation and rescue procedures well ahead of starting the job. Now some don'ts. First is overload ladders. Like consider the equipment or material workers are carrying before working on height, and overreach ladders and on ladders and step ladders. Like rest test a ladder against weak upper surfaces, and use ladders or step ladders for strenuous or heavy tasks. Only use them for light work of a short duration, and most importantly, no playing around. Like if someone is not enough experienced or competent to work at height, don't let them work at such height. Now coming to the second hazard. The second hazard is moving hazard. So construction sites around the world are well known as being ever-changing environments, which in turn creates an environment where hazards are very much present. And there are countless moving objects on a construction site. So from cranes to smaller machinery such as cement mixers, some of these objects move around or uneven on uneven conditions, like which is very much possible, and which can make conditions even more dangerous. So in fact 31% of fatalities are associated with individuals being stuck by moving or falling objects. So like we can definitely mitigate those risks. So some ways are to like moving pedestrians away from high risk areas. Like, second is checking the lifting devices are well maintained. Third is maintaining safety zones during loading and unloading. And finally, there should be some better risk assessment and safe systems of work in place. Now the third hazard is slips, trips and falls. So statistics show that the majority of falls happen on the same level resulting from slips and trips. The remaining are falls from a height. So slips happens when there is too little friction or traction between the footwear and the working surface. The common causes of slips are wet or oily surfaces, occasional spills, weather hazards and flooring issue. Now coming to trips. Trips happen when someone's foot collides, strikes or hits an object causing them to lose the balance and eventually fall. So some common causes of tripping are obstructed view, poor lighting, clutter in the way, uneven surface and uncovered cables in the site. The fourth hazard is electricity. Electricity may be the most important fabric of modern day human society, but if not domesticated properly, we all know the consequences. So some of the like types of electrical hazard situations and what to be aware of, like hazards regarding contact with energized sources are electrical shock and burns. Electrical shock occurs when the body becomes part of the electric circuit. Then overhead and buried power lines are hazardous because they carry extremely high voltage, and fatalities are possible as electrocution is the main risk. Then normal wear and tear on extension and flexible cords can loosen or expose wires, creating a hazardous condition. And hazards are created when cords, then cord connectors, then your receptacles and cord and plug connected equipment are improperly used and maintained. And if the electrical conductors become exposed, there is a danger of shocks, burns, or even fires. So how can it be prevented? First is inspect all electrical tools. Then never use anything that is damaged. Number three, keep at least 3 feet from all electrical panels. Then ensure all tools are and wiring are properly grounded. And number five is PPEs while working: safety helmet, gloves, rubber shoes, everything that is required while working. Okay, now coming in the fifth point is construction hazard. In construction hazard is collapsing trenches. So collapsing trenches on construction sites are more common than one may think, and these situations can be very dangerous, which in some cases can cause fatalities. At any time, a building that is being demolished or under construction has the potential to suddenly collapse as a result of inadequate construction processes or various cases of miscalculation. The sixth point is material and manual handling. So various tools, materials, and waste are transported across construction sites day by day, from ladders to bags of cement and other construction debris, materials, and all. So handling anything on a construction site, no matter how big or small, has the ability to cause risk that could result in injury. So adequate training should be provided for employees that undergo duties which involve manual handling. And moreover, if an employee is required to use lifting equipment, test and training is vital to ensure adequate health and safety measures are met. Let me quickly summarize the causes of accidents and also add a few more points. So number one is fire. Two is unguarded machinery, unsafe access to site or areas, then unsafe scaffolds, unsafe working at height, then unsafe lifting operation, stuck by a foreign body, some objects falling from height, then yeah, falling objects, then open shafts and edges, unsafe working platforms, then unstable structure, mobile crane excavation, and most importantly, unsafe electrical equipment. So we know what are the causes of accidents, and we should always, before starting any work, we should always prevent those, because prevention is better than any cure. So finally, moving on to the final agenda, that is fire and explosion in construction site. So workers can suffer catastrophic injuries or even death in a construction site fire or explosion. Fire and explosion, if they occur, they will surely lead to a major loss. So let's understand what are the causes of fire and explosion. So first is heat. So there are many dangers of high heat and sparks on construction site, like equipment such as those used in welding, cutting, and what is their grinding can create sparks when being used that can catch fire on a person's clothing. Then clothing, even scrap wood or other materials. The second is safety standards. Coming to safety standards, your employers need to follow some safety guidelines issued by the issued by the authorities for the use of tools with high heat or flame and fire safety in general. They must also train their employees on safety precautions and use of these tools. The third is electrical errors. Coming to electrical errors, as I've already discussed a while ago in a previous slide, that some fire occur when electrical wire short circuit. Then, if the explosives are not used properly or there are insufficient ground fault protection or fire extinguishers. The fourth cause is fuel. There are often open sources of fuel such as propane, gas lines, and acetylene on construction sites that can cause a fire if they come in contact with a heat source. And the final issue, like cause, is defective equipments. So when tools, heating equipment, and electrical wiring are defective or in need of repair or replacement, they can cause a fire when being used. So the moral of the story is that employers have a duty to inspect and maintain them to prevent fires and other dangerous accidents. So it is both the employers and the employees' responsibility to make sure that everything in the construction site is going as per plan, and like they have to inspect and maintain them to prevent fires and other dangerous accidents. So with this, I come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you so very much for your attention.